Unbelievable. Hi, is the director of football there? No, okay. What about Dora? Oh, she's still out exploring. Oh, she could make a career out of that. Look, I think I'm going to have to go off at you, unfortunately. What the flaming hell is up with this fixture congestion at the moment? We've only got 4 days till our first Champions League game, and you want us to play 3 games in the next 4 days. I can handle the Champions League, but 2 domestic games. Not only that, we play HK the day before their first Champions League game. They have no recovery. Like, what's going on? It's a redonkulous situation. In fact, it's not redonkulous, it's ridiculous. Redonkulous means good. That is just terrible. How are we supposed to keep improving when you guys do scheduling like this? Oh, yeah, I know it's not your fault, sorry, but you're the face on the end of the phone at the moment. Yeah, okay. Yeah, please relay that. Great, thank you. It's really not good enough. The losses are on your hands. Thank you. Have a good day. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 110 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and coming up in today's episode we start off the group stages of the Champions League for 2030/31. We take on RB Leipzig away from home, and off the back of that we do have a Mulka final as well, and that game is against our fellow Champions League team here in Iceland in HK. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, then please do consider hitting that subscribe button and also turning that notification bell on as well so you do not miss out when a new video does drop on the channel. But before we do get into our first game of the Champions League group stages, we did get here off the back of a win in the playoff game against Olympiacos yesterday. If you did miss that episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Also some interesting stuff happening in that episode with HK getting past Shakhtar to also make their way into the group stages of the Champions League. But before we do get a little bit deeper into some Champions League fever, before then we have played a few games since that playoff there against Olympiacos. First off, we did have the semi-final of the Mulka, and usually would show you guys the highlights of a big game like that, but as you can see on screen, we absolutely wiped the floor with Akronis. Not much point showing the highlights because we would be here for a while. We picked up a very comprehensive 6-0 win. The first 11 did back up from that game against Olympiacos, and we picked up a very comfortable win at home, and we do meet HK in the final in the second game of today's episode, as they did win their semi-final 4-0 against the team down in the third tier. So that is a big clash, the first one on camera between the two biggest clubs in Iceland that we have shown you guys so far this season, albeit HK probably going to be missing some of their better players with both the Champions League and of course those players that we do have on loan at their club at the moment. I don't think they're going to be available to play in that Mulka final against us, but it will hopefully still be quite a good game. And off the back of that, we do remain unbeaten domestically, picking up a 3-0 win away at Shaun thanks to goals to Satole, Rubio and Goffey. Then a 3-1 win away at Keflavik. We did concede an early goal in this one, but bounced back fairly shortly off the back of that with Traore, and then goals a bit later on to both Ramadan and Mariano. That did mean that if we did pick up a win in our next game against Nuts KR, we would secure the title no matter what happened in other fixtures, and thankfully we did get the job done there thanks to a Fredrik Larsson hat-trick. Unfortunately, we didn't get shown the actual trophy presentation for some reason, but that was the game in which we wrapped up the league title for the 8th straight season. And then the very next day, which is something that we will get into a little bit deeper shortly, because this recent fixture congestion, not good, not just for us, but also for HK. But we did take on HK the very next day and did pick up a 4-1 win there with our backup team doubles to both Fabio Mariano and Paul Stein Arnason. So we are still yet to lose a game domestically so far this season. We are the champions of Iceland. HK and Nuts KR pretty much locked in to be playing Conference League qualifiers next season as well, but in behind that there is a bit of a fight for that 4th spot there. You would backfill here with that 5-point gap with only 4 games left in the season, but there are certainly still quite a few teams there who could sneak their way into 4th should Filkir's form fall off at the wrong stage of the season. I do believe one of Filkir's last games does happen to be against us as well. But something you might have noticed from that most recent patch is in this last week in particular, leading into the start of our Champions League campaign, the fixture congestion has been absolutely ridiculous. This is making up for the fact that we did have a break during the World Cup earlier in the season, and also in a recent international window, some other Icelandic teams wanted games postponed as well. And for some reason, we've been making up for that the week leading in to our first game of the Champions League. On the Friday, we took on Keflavik. 2 days later, we played Nuts KR. The very next day, we took on HK, and only 2 days later, we have our first Champions League group stage game. So at the moment, we do have a lot of tired players at the club. They are on green hearts, but their workload is certainly on the heavy side in terms of their match load. And it was actually even worse for HK because the day after that most recent game in which we did play them in the league, they took on Milan in their first game of the Champions League. We've already had half of the first match week take place. And if we go back and have a look at the results for those games, you can see there right at the bottom, unfortunately, despite an early Miguel Monroy goal, AC Milan did come from behind there to pick up a 4-1 win at HK, which is highly unsurprising considering how we've kind of been screwed here a little bit with scheduling domestically leading into this first Champions League game. But not a good start there for HK, albeit they are in an absolutely brutal group for their first time in the group stages of a European competition. Just having a quick look at some of the other results. So it does look like this year most of the big teams have got off to a good start in their groups, at least on the top half side of the draw. But we are about to get into our first game of this group. Group H, we are in with Inter Milan, RB Leipzig, who of course we did beat twice last season in the group stages, knocking them down to third in the group before they did go on to win the Europa League. We've also got FK Partizan, a team who did finish third above Liverpool in a group in the Champions League last year as well. So this is quite an even looking group, I think. It is fair to say. I think any points that people get away from home are going to be absolute gold in this group. If you can pick up all your points at home, you're halfway there, and any points away from home, just an absolute bonus, I think. It is fair to say. But this first match week, we've got Partizan at home to Inter Milan. That is by no means a given there for Inter Milan, and we do travel away to take on RB Leipzig. As I said, we did beat these guys in this fixture both times last season, and in the away one, we did come from behind early to pick up a 2-1 win at the Red Bull Arena. A quick look at RB Leipzig going in to this game. Their squad looks pretty darn similar to the one that we did take on last season, of course, with there not having been much change as you would expect. Since then, they've still got Jesse Marsh in charge there at the Red Bull Arena. Just the addition of the Europa League to their trophy cabinet since we did last take them on. But in terms of personnel, they do look very similar to the team that we did take on last season. Hopefully, we can back up what we did here. A win in this first game away from home would put us in a great position early doors to be qualifying yet again for the knockouts of the Champions League. In terms of our team going into the first game of this Champions League group stage, we are putting out our best 11. Absolutely no changes to this team. Most of the players actually aren't too bad off match load. We've managed them fairly well through that tough little recent stretch. Just Basaroge on a heavy workload, and a lot of the bench players on a heavy workload as well. But this is our first choice 11 for this first game of the Champions League, and our best bench available as well. So hopefully we can get off to a decent start here. Even a draw away from home would not be the worst result, but we'll come back shortly and hopefully start things off well here in this Champions League group from the Red Bull Arena against RB Leipzig. And we do have TV coverage for this game being in the Champions League. We will show you guys this lineup here for RB Leipzig. Interesting to see they're starting Caligari as a DM, a player, of course, that we did have in the taking over Tottenham beta save. As I said before, we are at full strength, very similar formations. Hopefully, we can do something similar to what we did last season and beat these guys here in Germany to get off to a flying start. And it's a very early highlight here for RB Leipzig in front of a packed out Red Bull Arena. They put a ball there, far post. John Matthews completely loses Elvis, and they open the scoring. This man, of course, scored a great free kick in this fixture last season when we did come from behind. This time, we're going to have to do it off the back of a pretty soft header there at the far post. Simple 1-2 off the front, and somehow John Matthews just completely forgets to pick up Otundi there, and it's already 1-0 RB Leipzig, approaching the 5-minute mark. And up to the 14-minute mark for the next highlight, we are playing out from the back here from a goal kick. Basaro Husavik just keeps that out of the back of the net. That could have been an absolute shocker. Interesting to see that Partizan are now 1-0 up over Inter as well. That's just the highlight there, that near fatal own goal there from Husavik. Thankfully, just clears his line. That was a close call, but we're still 1-0 down here at the 15-minute mark, and right off the back of that very dicey moment at the back for us yet again, it is RB Leipzig here on the attack. They have started this game off very well, it is fair to say. And Poku with an absolute screamer from long range. There is nothing that Husavik can do about that one, and we are on the ropes early here at the Red Bull Arena. A soft first goal, but that one is an absolute stunner. Absolutely nothing we can do about that one. Maybe someone could have closed them down, but still, that is a heck of a strike from well outside the box, and we go 2-0 down just shy of the 20-minute mark. And up to the 21-minute mark now for our next highlight. We nearly get in trouble there again, playing out from the back, although we do just rescue things and now try and get something going here on the attack for the first time in this game. Great chance for Zimmerman. Can he put it away? He puts it wide. We're going to need to take those chances being 2-0 down. That's a great one, and we do remain 2 goals down here at the Red Bull Arena, albeit not too long off the back of that. Things might be about to get worse as RB Leipzig. Great chance here for Svedberg. Somehow, no one picks him up. Thankfully, Husavik makes a good save there, but there's a couple of really good chances at both ends. Rather fairly, the scoreline does remain 2 goals in favour of RB Leipzig. Zimmerman deals with that corner coming in, and it is still 2-0 here, approaching the 24-minute mark, although RB Leipzig still on the attack here, albeit that is the end of the highlight. 24 minutes gone, and we are still 2-0 down. And up to the 40-minute mark, we do have a corner here. Rakusan near post. Thiago Polo gets a goal in the Champions League in the top right corner. That is exactly what we needed right before half-time. We get a goal back, and maybe that will give us some chance here in the second half for a comeback. Good set piece. We haven't looked too threatening so far in this first half. We will take those set piece goals. 2-1 to RB Leipzig not too long before halftime. And very shortly off the back of that corner goal, it is a free kick here to RB Leipzig. Hopefully that good work does not go unrewarded, and thankfully that's a good save there from Husavik. He has pulled out a few really good saves late here in this first half. Does that keep the scoreline at 2-1 for now? That's another good save there off the corner. Svedberg was given a lot of space there at the far post. We do deal with that ball. Giroud heads that clear, and I think we're going to be going into halftime being 2-1 down, which is not too bad. That certainly could have been a lot worse, albeit there's a few players out there who are really struggling. Both of our wingers on 6.4 ratings, and also Alejandro Meza on a 6.3. I think we might be taking him off here at halftime for Andy Harwood, but it wasn't a great first half from us there, but we are certainly still in this thanks to that late first half goal to Thiago Polo. Andy Harwood will come on early here in the second half. Keep a big eye out on both wings though. Neither of those guys performing that well. We'll give the boys a bit of a rack up here at halftime, and hopefully we can grab at least an equaliser here in the second half. And nearly 5 minutes into the second half, we do have our first highlight here. It's a throw-in for RB Leipzig, and Basaro Guy has just killed a man. Albeit he has got up rather quickly, but quite rightly, he has been red carded. Will that kill off that momentum we potentially had late in that first half? It might do so. That's not great there from our Senegalese defensive midfielder. What we are going to do, we're not going to make any changes in terms of our formation. We will just switch Rakusan to a support Mazzala instead of an attacking Mazzala, but we are now down to 10 men early in the second half here, and still 2-1 down. And up to the hour mark, we are going to make our last 2 substitutions here. As you can see, Inter Milan have come from behind to be leading away there at Partizan, but both of our wingers still struggling, so they can come off. Anason will come on for Zimmerman, and Traore for Larson for the last half hour. And 5 minutes off the back of those substitutions, we do have a free kick, albeit we are having to play out from the back. Elias Anderson has picked up a yellow card. Hopefully that does not prove a problem here inside this last half hour, as we have already used all of our substitutions and are now down to 10 men thanks to that shocking slide tackle off the throw-in there from Basaro Guy. Very similar to what Bohemian did to one of our players in the second league in Iceland a few episodes ago. Great chance here though for Peter Wojnar, and that probably puts this game to bed. Just too much space there in behind our defence. Poku gets an assist to go alongside his goal. He's a very good young striker, is Wojna, and he tucks that away in the bottom right corner. It does look like it will be RB Leipzig getting some revenge on us from last season. Just too much pace there did Peter Wojna have. Puts that away, and we are now 3-1 down with just over 20 minutes left here of this first game of the Champions League group stage. And not too long before full time here, potentially we could get a consolation goal as we do roll it out from the back through Husavik, but not much happening so far in the second half. Just that red card and that third goal there to Leipzig. It's a poor pass there though from Chaka Traore and Nusa with a great chance here. He puts that in the bottom right corner, and that will seal things. Interesting to see a lot of red card action going on there in the bottom left corner. Barella off for Inter Milan, so that is interesting. They are still 2-1 up there against FK Partizan, but we are well and truly done in this game. Just too much space there in our defence, of course, with no defensive midfielder for most of the second half, and Nusa tucks that away very easily. 4-1 Leipzig as we are about to approach full time in this game, and that is it. It's a disappointing performance in the end. I think that red card that we did get early on there in the second half certainly killed off our chances there of getting anything out of this game. I thought at halftime we might still be in there with a little bit of a chance, but losing a player early in the second half, RB Leipzig well and truly took control of that and picked up 2 more goals in that second half to go alongside the 2 that they did pick up in that first half. And we do start off with a loss, and in the end it's a pretty comprehensive one, as well as I said, RB Leipzig getting some payback after we did defeat them both times in the group stages of the Champions League last season. Partizan did end up getting beaten by Inter Milan, so I suppose that's a little bit of saving grace for us there with our next game being against those guys. If we can win that one coming up at the start of next week, we will go above those guys into third spot in this group. That could be a nice little situation for us. Europa League knockouts, that's a competition if we end up in. I would like to go extremely deep in, if not win that competition. Interesting to see also that one of the Partizan players also picked up a late red card in this game. So there's a lot of red cards going around early in the Champions League this season, but we get off to a pretty shocking start there, losing 4-1 against Leipzig. We'll come back shortly and get stuck into the Molkebikeren final against our fellow Icelandic Champions League team in HK. And we are about to get stuck into this Molkebikeren final against HK. Hopefully we can bounce back off the back of that poor effort there against RB Leipzig to start off the group stages of the Champions League. But before then, one thing I did forget to mention from earlier off the back of winning the domestic league season yet again, we do have our transfer budget for this next coming transfer window at the end of this year in February. It is here in Iceland. It is 12.84 million, so quite a bit less than we did have last year. And also our wage budget has not gone up by much as well, so we're probably going to need to juggle things around just a little bit there, but about 12 million we do have to work with in the transfer window when that does open here in Iceland in February. And we have also actually signed a few players on free transfers. We did a little bit of scouting and just checking in on players who were available not at clubs and under 19 and under 21s teams, seeing as there's a lot of that happening internationally at the moment, qualifying for various tournaments around the world. And we did pick up 2 players on free transfers. The first of those is a Danish 19-year-old left winger. This is Solan Thomason. He might get a little bit of game time if we do need to rest players leading into that second game of the group stages of the Champions League, with another little bit of fixture congestion domestically going into that one. But he has a 2-star current ability, 3.5-star potential left winger there out of Denmark. Can also play up front as a striker, 11 finishing, so wouldn't be too bad up there, but does look quite suited to that inside forward role that we do use here at Völsungur. We have signed him up, seeing as he was available for a free transfer. We have also done one other deal for a player. He is only 15 years old, playing under 21 international football, so I've got quite high hopes for this guy. Unfortunately, he's not going to actually join us until 2032 when he's 17 years old because of his age, but this is Narek Voskanyan. He doesn't even have a real face yet, but he is a 15-year-old striker out of Armenia. Armenia are one of a few countries just recently in game who did get their EU status approved. The players from Armenia, as well as a few other countries like Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Serbia, among others, are players who no longer count as foreign players domestically. So that is another big plus out of signing this guy. But 1.5-star current ability, 4.5-star potential for this very young Armenian striker. 2 goals in 2 appearances for the under-21 national team already. So he's going to be on trial until he does join us late in 2032. But he does look like quite a promising prospect. He'll get some game time in the under-19s until he does join us. So a few free transfers there that we have brought to the club, this one in particular. Quite hopeful he can turn into something quite good up front for us in the future. But we are about to play the Mulka final against HK. A quick look at these guys. We're quite familiar with them, of course, considering that we do have quite a few players out on loan with them at the moment. Those players will be unavailable for them in this Mulka final, though, so it's not going to be the strongest team. You can see there's Zapata, Bedrzicki, Salic, and Monroy, all players unavailable for HK in this upcoming Mulka final, but they are currently second on the league table. We've bet them in a few meetings so far this season. Hopefully that continues here. We are going to put out our rotated team for this game, though. They're just a little bit less tired than the first team, and I do feel like they deserve a chance to try and prove themselves off the back of that pretty average performance there from the first team in that RB Leipzig game. So there is the squad that we are running with. A few familiar faces from past Champions League campaigns in this lineup, and we'll come back shortly and hopefully bounce back by winning the Mulka for the 7th time and the 6th time in a row. And 3 minutes into this Icelandic Cup final here at the Husavik Heroes, still under construction, as you can see on the right-hand side there. But Chakatrare with a free kick, Ramadan far post. Good save there from the HK goalkeeper, but it does fall to poor Stein Andersson. He tucks that away. A little bit of bad luck there for HK, but a flood of bodies in the box there. We make the most of it, and we do pick up a nice 1-0 lead early here in the Icelandic Cup final, looking for the domestic quadruple. And up to the 6-minute mark here, it was HK there on the attack. One of our former players there in Antonio Perez, but we do intercept the ball and look to play out from the back here. That very strong backup centre-back partnership of Ramadan and Deprisco were just on the ball before there, but poor Stein Andersson back over there for Chakatrare. Great chance, comes off the inside of the crossbar, doesn't quite find its way in the back of the net, but a strong start here from the rotation team. 1-0 up, coming towards the 15-minute mark. And up to the 17-minute mark for our next highlight, we do have a throw-in. It is inside our own half, but we are starting to make our way up towards the halfway line, albeit they do peg us back inside our own half here again. Do HK, as some of these rotation players do get a chance to win us our 4th trophy of this season domestically, which would be very nice, backing up what we did do last season yet again. And we are still looking to play out from the back there. Deprisco plays that back to Thomas Diaz yet again, and he finds Andy Harwood, a player who might not be too far off getting a starting spot in that first 11. Very nice first touch there from Fabio Mariano. He picks up his 22nd goal of the season and puts us up 2-0 here, just shy of the 20-minute mark. And already we might be seeing the difference that those players that we do loan out to HK do make to their team. Fabio Mariano, he is small, but does have good pace, is just able to get in behind the defence very easily in these domestic games and puts us 2-0 up nice and early here in this final. And up to the 42-minute mark, it is a goal kick here to HK. They pump it deep, but Gaetano Deprisco does win that, heads that back to Diaz and goal, and we do get that out to Ian Carlo and look to get on the attack here. Yet again, Fabio Mariano, what can he do? Nice little turn from him, plays that back to Ian Carlo, Goffey, Anderson, Mariano just in behind the defence. It's a really good finish into the top left corner, and we are 3-0 up, just shy of half time here in this Icelandic Cup final. Some good play out from the back, off the back of winning that header from their goal kick. Good short passing, and Mariano yet again just a little bit too small and nimble there for the HK defence, puts that away. 3-0 Völsungur, just shy of half time. And that is half time in this Icelandic Cup final. The rotation team doing a very good job here at home against HK should already be in a position where we can hold on to this in the second half. 3-0 up, no changes at half time. Should be making it a domestic quadruple yet again. And up to the 69-minute mark, nothing of note happening so far in this second half, but we are going to make our first substitution. Galtason on a yellow card. We will take him off just to be safe. Basaro Gay will get a chance to redeem himself after that game against RB Leipzig for these last 20 minutes. Still 3-0 up. And shortly off the back of that first substitution, we are on the attack again here. We play the ball forward to Mariano, albeit he plays that back to Gaetano Deprisco, but Harwood, nice ball over there, but can't quite link up with our Italian striker. But off that long clearance, we do get the ball back and are back on the attack. Chaka Traore with an absolute screamer. There's the favourite for goal of the season when we do the end of season awards during next week. That is an absolute banger. That's reminiscent of Mo Salah against Chelsea a few seasons ago. What a curve on that to put that top right corner. Wonderful goal. And we are now 4-0 up in the cup final. And with about 14 minutes to go, we are going to make our last substitution. We did bring Frederick Larsson on for Nygaard not too long ago. And now DePrisco is down to a red heart as well. So Rakasan can come on for him. We'll just shuffle things around in terms of making sure players are in some more natural positions. But that's all our subs used. 4-0 up here late in the cup final. And we are just about to approach injury time in this cup final. It has been a very comfortable one for us here. I think you can see why HK was so keen to get so many of our players on loan at the club. And in the end, it has helped them out quite considerably, making the group stages of the Champions League. But they just do not have enough quality for us in these domestic competitions when those players are not available in these games head-to-head against us. And we win that final very comfortably. It was pretty much over at halftime with that 3-0 scoreline, and then Chaka Traore put a cherry on top with that wonderful goal to make it 4-0. Yet again, we pick up the domestic quadruple off the back of that 4-0 win in the Icelandic Cup Final. And back in the inbox off the back of that bounce back after that loss in the Champions League, we do bounce back very nicely there with that 4-0 win against HK. And as you can see on screen, yet again, we pick up a domestic quadruple here at Völsungur, but that will do it for today's episode. As I said, bit of a rough start in our first game of the Champions League, but we do have a chance to rectify that at the start of next week from now on in for the rest of 2030. Anyway, we are going to be focusing on Champions League football, but we did bounce back nicely off the back of that 4-1 loss to RB Leipzig with that 4-0 win to make it a domestic quadruple there over HK in the Molke-Bikeren final. If you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. As I said, start of next week, Tuesday my time, Monday Northern Hemisphere time next week, we'll be back to our usual 5 videos a week, all things going well, and we will come back with a Champions League double header. First off, we are going to be taking on Partizan at home. That is absolutely must win. That would put us in a good position to at least finish in a spot to make the Europa League knockouts, which, as I said, if we did end up there, I would like to go very, very deep in that competition after we did make the final a few seasons ago. And of course, what happened to RB Leipzig, who finished below us last season in our group, ending up winning that competition. That should be a game that hopefully we can win, even with the absence of Basaroge, and then he will be back for the next match a couple of weeks off the back of that away at Inter Milan. That one could be a lot tougher, but as I said, any points away from home in this group, they could end up being absolute gold dust. So we'll come back next week for that Champions League double at home to Partizan, away at Inter Milan. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.